Hi everyone, happy Sunday. Today I just felt like filming kind of a casual video. I thought it would be fun to do this reading tag that was originally started by Kevin Towle Reads. The first question he asks is kind of your preference when it comes to the time of day that you read. I think given the cameo of my neighbor's roosters in multiple of my videos now, it's probably clear that I do not like to read during the day. But that's not really the real reason. I tend to read more at night when everything is quiet, when the world is asleep. I just find it easier to get lost into books when no one is around. The next question is what you like to wear when you read, whether you prefer comfy clothes or kind of your everyday clothes. So I really like to have a vibe when I'm reading, so I will be wearing really comfortable clothes, like snuggled up in a blanket or something, and just creating a really comfortable atmosphere for myself so that I can really get lost into whatever I'm reading. I feel like your atmosphere and environment really does matter, just to have a clear state of mind to really do justice to the thing that you're reading. Next question is, what's your favorite reading spot? I think we all know the answer to that. When it comes to like snacks and beverages, because he does have two questions on here that are about that, I don't like to snack when I read. I think partly it's distracting. I find it distracting to have like your hands engaged in something else other than holding the book. And I also often like to annotate my books. So that's another reason why, my hands are quite occupied when I'm reading. But when it comes to beverages, it's definitely a yes from me. I love to have coffee with my books when I'm reading, or I love to have tea. Yeah, those two. I'm not a soda drinker, so no unhealthy beverages, but generally yes. The next question is about how much you mind spoilers. So whether you completely like avoid them or if you're okay with them. And honestly, unless it's like explicitly a mystery novel that I'm reading, I actually don't really care that much, especially because a lot of books that I read are classics. Sometimes I go into books fully knowing what happens in them, but I just read them for the language or just for some other purpose. So yeah, unless it's like a mystery or like a whodunit where that's kind of central to keeping you gripped, I honestly don't mind spoilers. And I think there's sort of a discussion to be had about the role of rereading, because sometimes we reread books just for comfort. I think the whole concept of a comfort read is that you know what happens exactly in the book, in fact, and you've been over it multiple times, but you still go and read it. I am partly a comfort reader as well. I do like having that sense of almost control. It really depends on what purpose you're going into a book for. Are you going into it to understand something deeper, or to really kind of analyze and come to grips with a concept in that book, or to try and see it in a new light? I think in those cases, spoilers and like plot points become quite irrelevant, and I do like to do that sort of reading quite a bit. But of course, sometimes you just want a light-hearted, like plot-driven book, and in that case, I would avoid spoilers. The next question is kind of your preference when it comes to point of view, so first person or third person perspective. And for me, I genuinely don't have a preference when it comes to the style of narration. In January, I think I read Mohsin Hamid's The Reluctant Fundamentalist, which is written in the second person point of view, and that's also really interesting. So I think for me, POV is not important, but the thing that is important when it comes to narration is the voice. And voice is very different from perspective, because I think the real testament to a writer's skill is how gripping and well orchestrated the voice of narration is. And so that's what I really care about and look for. So I really love this next question, whether you care for or like to read the dedications and acknowledgements in books. And I think I'm one of the fewer people who genuinely loves to read dedications and acknowledgements. Sometimes you can get such a fun insight into the author when you read the dedication. And the thing about acknowledgements as well that I find so fascinating is that they give you a sense of how much effort and how many people went into the creation of that book. Because obviously the credit for the book goes to the author, the person who actually wrote it. And that's the person we think of when we read the book. But there are so many other people that go into editing a book, into publishing it, into actually designing the physical copy of it. I'm super fascinated by what goes into publishing a book. And so for that reason, I love to read both the acknowledgements and the dedications. The final question is whether you have reading goals and resolutions, or do you prefer a more kind of loose structure and sort of go with your mood? So for me, I definitely set goals, but whether I follow through on them is a different story. I am a very moody reader. But I actually have this perpetual conflict in all aspects of my life where I like to think that I'm very disciplined and I really like to create structures for myself, but I think I'm naturally wired in a way where I actually find it very difficult to stick to structures. And I think I've always just been aware of the kind of changeability and the fleetingness of my mood. So I have always tried to tame them in some way by giving them structure, because otherwise you can't really get anything accomplished. But so yeah, I think for me it's just, I try to create balance in my life by having those kind of goals and structures in place. But over the years, I've learned to also forgive myself for sort of being swayed by my mood here and there. And sometimes those kind of whims in life can actually lead you down really interesting discoveries as well. So I have found peace within myself when it comes to that. The final kind of prompt in it is to tag other people. So to whoever is watching this and who hasn't done the tag themselves, I would encourage you to go ahead and try it for yourself. I also want to say thanks to Kevin, who created this tag and also gave me a shout out last week, which is very nice of him. And in case you missed my last video, I'll put that up on the end screen as well. And I will be back very soon.